Hi and welcome to Ageless Curiosity. In this video we review our 14-night transatlantic crossing on board P&O ARVIA. We'll be sharing our thoughts on everything from the cabin to the food and drink options, as well as the variety of entertainment, some stunning ports and how we cope with 9 sea days. So whether you are new to P&O and ARVIA or intrigued by a transatlantic cruise, we hope our review will give you an insight into this ship and itinerary. This is our first time on ARVIA, but we have cruised twice on board her sister ship Iona. So let's start with some quick facts about the ship itself. ARVIA entered into service in December 2022 and is P&O's newest and biggest ship alongside Iona. Average capacity is 5,200 passengers, but can accommodate over 6,000 passengers. She currently spends the winter in the Caribbean and will spend the summer in Europe and Mediterranean. The main difference compared to Iona is the retractable sky dome, high ropes course, mini golf, mission control escape room, stage area in the atrium, a swim-up bar and new restaurants which we will explore later. For this particular cruise we chose a balcony cabin, 12743 on deck 12, which is right at the aft of the ship. As you can see, the furniture is more contemporary than their older ships, and the colour scheme was light and modern, which we liked. The bed can be made as a double or twin, with plenty of room under the bed to store suitcases. There are also useful USB ports in the base of the bedside lamps, although there is limited bedside storage. The wardrobes offer a fair amount of storage, though the rails are not particularly high for long dresses, but there are fixed hooks you can use on the cabin wall, or you can bring your own magnetic hooks to store items that need hanging. There is plenty of storage to store other clothing, as well as a number of smaller cupboards around the cabin for additional storage. The cabin is spacious enough to include a sofa, which we enjoyed and used regularly during the sea days when relaxing or watching TV. The TV is a smart TV and was useful for checking our account, watching the muster video, sports, general daily activities, as well as showing a good choice of free films. The bathroom was one of the most spacious we have come across at sea, and we're delighted to have a door instead of a curtain for the shower. The toiletries continue to be from the White Company, and the cabin steward can bring separate conditioner and body lotion. One standout feature of this cabin is its location at the back of the ship, those stunning vistas. However, unlike most cabins in this location, there is something you should be aware of, and that is the potential for splashes from the infinity pool a few decks above. As the cruise got nearer to the Caribbean, we also noted the music from the Sunset Bar on deck 8 became louder. We quite enjoyed the afternoon and evening Ibiza vibes, but for some it could be an issue, so something to bear in mind. If you want to learn more about this cabin, do have a look at our cabin video. When it comes to food and drink on ARVIA, there are many options to choose from, and you will be spoilt for choice. Let's start with included restaurants. The buffet is on deck 16 and is called Horizon, and is a large, well laid out area, allowing people to move freely. However, at popular times, you do need to dodge around people to get to the food station of your choice. It opens 6:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for breakfast, 12 to 5 p.m. for lunch, 6 to 9:30 p.m. for dinner, and then 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. for late night snacks. The advantage of the buffet is that you can turn up when you want to, but do check the screens which are displayed by all the restaurants and show their busy and quiet times, as this may impact on the experience you have. The selection of food was average, but we regularly used it for breakfast and lunch. There were gluten-free options and a section for vegetarians and vegans. The labelling was particularly helpful, but it is always recommended to discuss any allergies with staff in any restaurant you visit. We had heard that P&O had removed trays in the buffet across all their fleet in a bid to cut down on waste. This was the case on ARVIA. However, there were staff available to assist if anyone needed help taking food to their table. For tea and coffee lovers, these are available all day at the drink station, with supplies being regularly topped up by staff, and this is where you will also find the juices at breakfast. A very popular option on deck 8 is the Quays, which has 3 separate food stations and is open for breakfast 7 to 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for lunch and dinner. The food on offer is fish and chips from Hook, Line and Vinegar, Asian cuisine from Fusion, and roast meats including vegan-based meats from Roast. There is an outdoor area if you want al fresco dining, but otherwise there is plenty of seats inside. It can be very busy at peak times. The lunch offerings were good. I particularly enjoyed the vegan wraps, but they could be a little dry. However, we were not impressed with their breakfast options as the waffles were cold and hard, and having requested a plain cheese omelette, we noticed it also had ham. When it comes to main dining rooms, Arvia has only 2 rather than the 4 on Iona. They are Meridian, Deck 6 aft, and Zenith, Deck 7 aft. Both offer the same menu, but Zenith has tablecloths and Meridian does not. They open at 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. for breakfast and 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for dinner. Though on sea days, Meridian was open for lunch from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Early diners can book a table, but otherwise you are advised to join a virtual queue or collect a buzzer and await for it to vibrate to let you know your table is ready. We felt there was a good variety of breakfast options and it was a lovely relaxed way to start the day. We visited the MDR a few times for lunch and were pleased to see some light bites and snacks. The evening meal offered starters, soup, main course and dessert. You can also finish your meal with a complimentary hot drink. On formal nights, the menu is created by Marco Pierre White. Vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free options are available with an increasing number of choices compared to our first P&O cruise. On the whole, the quality of the food was good, though not exceptional, and we felt the choices were quite repetitive and not adventurous. However, we never went hungry. The space used by the 2 missing dining rooms on Iona has been replaced on Arvia by a larger Olive Grove and 6th Street diner. Olive Grove serves Mediterranean-inspired dishes across 2 menus that change each week. This is a popular venue and you needed to book via the My Holiday app or join a virtual queue with waits for up to an hour. On reflection, we did prefer the menu on Iona as that was largely Italian. 6th Street Diner on Deck 6 is themed as an American diner and is open for breakfast and lunch 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and dinner 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. This is also a very popular venue and we did like the theming with the booths and jukebox playing music and large tables for groups. Food options included an all-day breakfast, waffles and pancakes, as well as barbecue chicken and ribs later in the day. There are also quick service burgers and pizza in Taste 360 in the Sky Dome on Deck 16 for those quick snacks. Vegetarian burgers are available and cooked on request, so there will be quite a wait. Just a reminder, these venues are all complimentary. When it comes to specialty dining, there are several options which include a cover charge. We were fortunate to be able to try them all, and they were on the whole a notch above the complimentary fare and were reasonably priced, particularly if you booked before joining the ship, as the cost was often reduced. But on the flip side, you could not then use onboard credit when booking in advance. Unique to Arvia is Green & Co, the first plant-based restaurant in the P&O fleet. The flavours were amazing and we recommend giving this restaurant a try. The menu is a la carte, so each of the dishes are charged separately. Examples of the food included cauliflower popcorn tempura or mushroom pate as a starter, and tofu ramen or charred aubergine as a main course, with chocolate earth cake and coconut panna cotta for dessert. This restaurant was also home to Mitsuana, specialising in sushi, which was also fabulous. This restaurant was the quietest we came across, and we are not sure why, as the menu contained a varied choice or original food, which tasted amazing. It's certainly somewhere we'd recommend. Next, we have Sindhu, serving contemporary Indian cuisine. It is found tucked away on Deck 8. Again, dishes are priced separately and starters range from puffed flatbread bites at £5.50, which were vegan, to tandoori lamb cutlets at £7. Mains were approximately £10 to £15 and included a vegetable thali plate and tandoori style duck. We were too full for dessert and struggled to finish the vast quantity of food, as they also included some complimentary side dishes. It is £10 each to book in advance, and then dishes have a 20% reduction. This is the 4th different cinder we've tried on P&O ships, each being a different experience. Keel and Cow was found in the atrium on Deck 8, serving gastropub food classics such as the Prime Minister burger, pie and mash, various types and sizes of steak, and a vegan cauliflower, lentil and sweet potato pudding. With its situation in and around the atrium, this may not be a quiet venue on some nights if there are other events taking place below. We were seated on the edge of the restaurant in an area that was freezing as it was close to an exit to the promenade deck, and I shivered my way through the meal. This venue was open for breakfast with additional charge for each dish. We did enjoy a relaxed breakfast with options such as a yoghurt and granola and a variety of eggs Benedict. Vegan options were very limited, but we understand that this will be addressed soon. Costs were based on each dish and were very reasonable. Epicurean on Deck 17 was open to suite guests for breakfast and a decadent afternoon tea for an additional charge on sea days. It was also open for dinner from 6 p.m. every night, serving traditional English dishes with a modern twist. We felt the additional cost of £24 if booked before your cruise was worth this experience. This is another popular venue which needed to be booked in advance and consisted of a 3-course meal with a wider drinks menu to choose from. Food dishes included duo of smoked salmon and a rather fancy steak and chips dish, both of which were excellent. The menu for non-meat eaters is limited to one option for starter and main, but the tofu dish was delicious. The Limelight Club is both a restaurant and entertainment venue in one. We went to this venue twice and saw both Lavoie and Gareth Gates in this intimate experience. We were pleased to see that there are 2 menus, A and B, which rotate each week. Again, this is a popular venue and needed to be booked ahead of the cruise, but it is worth checking if there is availability when on board. We suggest arriving at the venue at least 30 minutes before it opens to secure a table near the front and away from the pillars, which could be an obstruction. If you book ahead, the cost is £28 each. The beach house is found in a section of the buffet which is used to host an evening of Latin American and Caribbean inspired food. There was a cover charge of £7.50 per person, with some dishes an additional upcharge. The food was average at best and my loaded skins were lukewarm. However, it was the location which let down the experience. The seating is the same used in the buffet area earlier in the day, and the furnishings were stained and looked unkept. Ripples is found on Deck 8 and serves a range of gelato and ice cream sundaes for a small additional charge. They also offer an ice cream afternoon tea, but we did not try this as there are no dairy-free options for me, and even Ian could not manage to get through this himself, though I'm sure he'd like to have tried. If you are in need of a specialty coffee, then you will find Vistas in the atrium, which is the hub of a ship on sea days. You can queue up to order or remain in your seat as you while away the time, people watching or taking part in the quiz, and a waiter will come and take your order, but you could be waiting a while. Finally, we have the Glass House, which is part of the atrium on Deck 7. It is open from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and serves small sharing dishes as well as large plates, which complement the wide selection of beers and wines, including wine flights. Once again, the dishes are priced individually, and there were vegan options. Again, we felt that the food was okay. There were a few nice dishes, but it's the drinks on offer which is the highlight of this venue. There are a number of bars on ARVIA, all with different drinks menus and theming. The Crow's Nest is on Deck 17 at the front of the ship and is open from 5 p.m. to midnight, but on sea days we find that it was open in the afternoon, though the bar itself is closed. There was a good range of drinks, and in the evening there is a live pianist. It's a great place to spend an afternoon relaxing out of the fierce sun, taking in the wonderful sea views. Anderson's is on Deck 6 and is the home to the gin distillery when in the Mediterranean and rum distillery in the Caribbean. We love the decor in this venue with the variety of chair styles and colours, and the speciality cocktails went down a treat. It was a popular venue for pre and post dinner drinks. The amber bar is part of the atrium on deck 6 and was certainly popular when there were events in the atrium such as silent disco. This menu specialises in cocktails. Brody's is the sports bar which is on deck 7 next to the casino. Here you will find a large range of beers, including beer flights, as well as the usual pub drinks. This venue is used for day and evening quizzes and is very popular, so get there early to grab a seat. There are also various outdoor bars and are found on decks 16, 17 and 18. And the Sunset Bar is at the aft on deck 8. As well as drinks, this venue provided music in the afternoon and evenings via a DJ. While we are talking about bars, it is worth asking the question about drinks packages. The current cost of a classic drinks package is £44.95 per day, and the deluxe package is £49.95 a day, but only if you purchase a minimum of 3 days before your cruise. It is 10% more if you wait until you are on board, but you can then use the onboard credit to purchase. We felt that the cost of drinks were reasonable, as much as you'd expect in the pubs at home. However, for us it wasn't worth purchasing the package, as we don't drink enough to warrant the cost. Don't forget you can also take on board 1 litre of alcohol each, adult, as well as soft drinks. But if you're not sure as to whether the drinks package is a worthwhile option for yourself, then check out cruisemummy.co.uk, which has a useful drinks calculator. Being a transatlantic cruise, you tend to have more sea days than normal. On this trip we had 9 of them, which may put some people off, but we thoroughly enjoyed them. Despite not having quite the variety of activities that other cruise lines such as Princess and Royal Caribbean offer, there were plenty available with a few additional offerings on sea days. To find out what activities are on, it is worth checking the Daily Horizon, which is delivered to your cabin the evening before. And daily activities are also now shown on the My Holiday app, which is handy when you don't have a copy of the Horizon with you when out and about aboard the ship. Daytime inside activities included enrichment and cruise destination talks, line dancing, fit steps, quizzes, bingo, wine tasting, rum blending classes and live music in different venues around the ship. The onboard cinema also has 4 screens showing some relatively new films as well as classics. There was a reasonably large gym on board which proved to be very popular for the first week of the cruise, less so for the second. The gym is stocked with all the latest equipment, all of which was working. If you wanted something of a slower nature, there were many places around the ship you could simply relax and read a book or enjoy a game of cards. The spa offers a variety of treatments such as massage, hair and nail services, as well as the specialist treatments such as acupuncture. We spent a relaxing 2 hours in the thermal spa and used the various saunas and hydrotherapy pool. For families, there is a children's club for ages from 2 to 17. There are 4 separate venues depending on the age of the child. We have not experienced cruising with children, but we understand that the kids' clubs are well run and kids love them. We cruised during term time, and being a transatlantic crossing with many sea days, there were few children on board. P&O newer ships are certainly attracting families on some itineraries compared to their older fleet. The onboard shops offer cosmetics, jewellery, clothes, souvenirs, all at duty-free prices, and is in an area called the Avenue Shopping. This is far better than found on Iona, with the layout and design proving a more luxurious feel. For those wishing to take a dip, there are 3 outdoor pools, 1 indoor pool, 2 infinity pools, 1 which has a swim-up bar, and 18 whirlpool spas, with 6 being an infinity style. Lounge chairs can be found in many locations, but you guessed it, people were starting to reserve them at the crack of dawn, so be warned. However, more of a frustration is that people will leave their discarded towels on the lounger when they finish using them, leaving people unsure as to whether they're in use or not. The Sky Dome has a retractable roof and is home to a pool, large screen showing films, and has a stage for music and various performers. The retreat is a paid-for adults-only private area at the front of Deck 18. You can reserve lounge chairs for half or full days with some food and drinks included. This area can get booked up really quickly, so you need to check availability on embarkation day. Other outdoor venues included a sports court, jogging track and mini golf course, as well as high ropes altitude walk for those who want an exhilarating challenge. For a more sedate form of exercise, there is quoits, table tennis and shuffleboard, and of course the promenade deck on deck 8 is fantastic for a stroll. If you hadn't noticed before, this is also the location of some cabins which are the talk of most social media groups due to the lack of privacy. For the evening, the entertainment largely takes place in one of the 3 main venues. The Headliners Theatre is a large seated venue where the main shows are held. The clubhouse is at the aft of deck 8 and the Sky Dome is on decks 16 and 17. The P&O in-house performers, i.e. the Headlines Theatre Company, were a very talented bunch. Their shows included Sky's the Limit, Festival and Digital, and whilst not your typical theatre performances, were enjoyable nevertheless. Unfortunately, the Gary Barlow inspired show called The Great Estate was cancelled due to cast injury. There were also a number of guest performers around the ship, including the Flywrights, who performed Motown classics, Liz Jones, a singer who performed various songs, Rocks, the Phoenix Caribbean Band, and comedians Manuel Martinez and Mickey Kerr. Tribute acts included Bruno Mars, Ariana Grande, Pink and Barbra Streisand. The clubhouse was also home to the house band Pulse, which had a variety of sets across the 2 weeks, including Guilty Pleasures, Floor Fillers, 70s pop and soul. The audience enjoyed both listening to the music and having a boogie too. Talking of hitting the dance floor, you really should experience the silent disco, even in just for a bit of people watching. On this cruise we had 2, one in the atrium and one on the outside deck. You wear headphones and swap channels to choose your preferred song. I thought there were better dancers than singers on our cruise. 710 Club is a small cocktail/music bar which needed to be booked ahead. Despite the 4 nightly performances, we only managed to experience this venue once, but it was a very enjoyable evening. The 4-piece band play a different set each night and were really talented. Just note though that even if you have booked, it's wise to join the queue early so you can bag a seat near the front. What can you expect from a transatlantic crossing and what is good to be aware of? Transatlantic crossings take place in order for a cruise ship to move between itineraries at different times of the year. ARVIA spent the summer in the Mediterranean and Northern Europe and then travelled over to the Caribbean in order to spend the winter in the sun. She will then make another transatlantic crossing in the other direction around March, so she can be based again in Southampton. Our journey started in Southampton and ended in Barbados, and we had port stops in Gran Canaria, Tortola, St Kitts and Martinique before disembarking in Barbados before flying back to the UK. As we embarked in Southampton, we were able to take more items than if we flew. For example, 1 litre of alcohol and additional toiletries that we used over the 2-week trip. Though don't get caught out and take more with you than you can take back via the plane. For the UK, the time difference with the Caribbean is 5 hours, but instead of turning the clocks back by 5 hours on arrival, we had 5 separate days on which the clock went back by an hour at a time. This helped slowly acclimatise to the time difference, and the additional hour it afforded was very welcome. If you want direct sun for most of the trip, then choose a cabin on port side. But be warned, the sun can be exceptionally strong and hot, and there were many times when it is simply too hot to sit out, so you might prefer a starboard balcony instead. As we mentioned at the very start, on this trip we had a total of 9 sea days, which may not suit everyone, but we were surprised at how relaxing it was and didn't find this an issue. Our cruise coincided with a storm and we did have several bumpy days and nights. We would advise taking anti-sickness remedies with you, as anything bought on the ship can be very expensive. This is the same for any medications. Feel free to check out our separate video about the sea days and find out how we spent our time without feeling bored. This was our first experience of the Caribbean and we were not disappointed. Though we underestimated the heat and humidity, the air-conditioned ship was certainly a welcome relief at the end of each port stop. We took excursions at each port as we wanted to make the most of each island and experience what they had to offer. All the islands were beautiful and we didn't experience any issues during our time at each. Regarding getting around upon arrival, we'd certainly recommend checking out the variety of excursions offered by Caribbean Island Tours. They coordinate the booking on behalf of independent tour guides, and we found our trips on both St Kitts and Martinique exceptional value for such a long day out, with charismatic and knowledgeable tour guides. So if you're interested, do check out our port videos to see what we got up to.
Okay, well that was good to watch all over again. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been back, and for our regular viewers, or as our regular viewers will know, this is the part where we give our own final thoughts on the cruise and then finish up with a score at the end, so do stay tuned until that point. Right, so as far as the cruise is concerned, what were your thoughts on the ship?
Oh, now Arvia, I thought it was a lovely ship. She is big, there's no doubt about it, and that's not going to be for everybody. I did like the enhancements from Iona. There were a lot more restaurant choices. I liked the warmer feel with the soft furnishings and some of the entertainment venues and things like the high ropes, which we endured for one afternoon.
I think endured is the right word for that, that's for certain. If you haven't already seen it, go back and watch that video. As far as the cabin's concerned, I think it's probably one of the best cabins we've had to date on our cruises, our ever-growing number of cruises, further enhanced by our cabin steward, Rose, who was an absolute star. So if you're watching this, Rose, thank you very much for everything you did for us whilst on board. And as you would have seen from the daily vlogs and maybe even from the cabin tour itself, the balcony was fabulous and it was a great way to enjoy those long sea days in the good weather. Right, food choice. What was the food choice like for you on board?
Well, I think there was so much to choose from. There were the included restaurants, which maybe some days a little bit bland, less choice, but I thought the speciality restaurants were absolutely amazing and they were not too expensive. Now, we had a lot of onboard credit, so do look out for those deals. So we used that towards those extra restaurants and I think they were absolutely fantastic. So somebody doesn't eat meat, there was lots of choices and good labelling on the menus and in the buffet.
Yeah, that was the onboard credit was definitely a bonus, that's for sure. Entertainment, I thought the headliners were in general really good. Some of the performance was a bit hit and miss, again as covered in some of the previous vlogs. Digital in itself was a bit all over the place. Other entertainers such as the Light Years, they were fabulous, they were really, really good. But the house band Pulse were fabulous. So entertainment on a whole, I think, was really good on this cruise for me.
Definitely.
Then shall we move on to itinerary, because you do a lot of the research. Obviously, I'm just behind the camera. You will see Alison in front of the camera a lot more than you'll see me. And there's very good reason for that. It's because she knows where she's going, because she's researched it all and I haven't, and I just follow. So over to you on this one, I think.
Yeah, I think a transatlantic crossing is a really good way to get to the Caribbean, especially if you're not so keen on flying. Obviously, you've got to fly back, but it was a very relaxed way, and the clock went back gradually, so you acclimatised, you actually had an extra hour every day. So I think the itinerary itself was fantastic. We had some wonderful islands, first time in the Caribbean, but definitely go back. I think I would do the 15-night one next time, so you have the overnight stay when you arrive at your end destination. But apart from that, yeah, definitely, and I would do that again.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of a rush on the final day, but yeah, nevertheless, it didn't spoil it at all. Okay, right, so we are going to show some scores now as to how Alison and I actually scored it, and then we will show you the final score out of 10. So as you can see, we've both given it, or combined, a total of 8 out of 10, and so it was a really good cruise, something we'd certainly recommend. It was lots of people on board. It didn't actually feel that too busy, and we also met a couple of our subscribers, didn't we?
We did.
Kerry and Nigel. So Kerry, Nigel, if you're both watching, hope you're both well. And it's also a reminder to everyone that's watching that if you do see us on a ship, please do come up and say hello. I'm sure Kerry and Nigel will testify that we don't bite. or maybe not on a full moon anyway, but nevertheless, do come up and say hello. It's always interesting to hear your thoughts, not only of the cruises that we're on, but also of the videos that we're putting out. It's nice to know that people are actually out there and watching them, that's for certain. And also, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. It only takes you 2 seconds by clicking on that little icon in the bottom right hand corner, and it means the world to us and encourages us to do more of these videos. So I guess with that said, there are more videos coming up, so there's another reason for you to subscribe if you haven't already. But until then,
stay curious.